Call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I invite you to join us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Kolpak? Here. Pepcorn? Strand?
Present.
Turnberg? Here. Mahoney?
Here. Thanks, Commissioner Strand, for joining us. On inspections, the building permit values through October 24 are 9% lower than 23 levels. Values are $648 million, down from the $709 million in the same period in 2023. The largest decline is in housing. Single-family housing permits declined by 14%, from 211 to 181, and multifamily housing declined by 62%. There have been 411 multifamily housing units permitted so far in 2024, compared to 1,083 during the same time period in 2023. Library. The North Dakota Job Service staff is offer on-site walk-in services at the main library on November 19th from 2 to 4. These sessions are free to charge and registration is not required. Services available include job-seeking assistance, veteran services, information on training program, resume building assistance, limited unemployment insurance assistance, and migrant and seasonal farm worker services. As part of ongoing efforts to keep the city's infrastructure running smoothly, we'd like to share a video tonight about the importance of maintaining the lift stations, which pump wastewater from low areas to higher areas, helping to move the wastewater across the city to the water reclamation facility. When the items that should not be flushed are put down the drain, they can clog the pumps and cause serious issues. Help to keep the system running smoothly by flushing only appropriate items, and remember, pipes hate wipes. Let's see the video.
So we're standing on a corner of 32nd Avenue South and 42nd Street. We're at sanitary lift station 46. This is one of our busier stations in town. We've had some pretty good reg buildups here over the last few years in a couple stations east of here. A couple of the bigger things we see is a lot of baby wipes and so-called flushable wipes. The baby wipes, they should never be flushed down the toilet. They don't disperse like toilet paper. They don't break down. Some of the products out in the market that are described as disposable doesn't necessarily mean they're flushable. You got cotton swabs, dental floss, gloves, things of that nature, kitty litter, all that stuff should go in a garbage bag. If the clog does make it to the lift station, sometimes we'll have to put a guy on a crane and lower him down 30 to 40 feet, sometimes in a wet well to, these things they'll wrap around. They're almost like a rope. They get weaved together and they won't come apart. So we got to get a guy down there maybe with something to cut it apart before we can actually get it up out of the wet pit. They can wrap around, they can plug pumps, actually stop pumps. They can wrap around level indicators, floats, things like that will actually make the lift station not function properly. It can be a dangerous situation. So what happens is people start flushing the wrong things down the sewer. It could come down to clogging sewers, damaging pumps, things like that, which could lead to thousands of dollars of repairs. At the end of the day, I would tell everybody, keep an eye on what you're flushing down the toilet. The only thing that should be flushed down there would be toilet paper. Put the rest of the things in a garbage bag, dispose of them that way.
Mr. Turnberg, you don't want to volunteer for that job?
Nope.
Is there a motion to approve the order of the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor vote aye.
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 Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the October 28th, 2024 regular meeting?
So moved.
I so moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 35?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Kolpak? Aye. Turnberg? Aye. Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Regular agenda, presentation on 2025 legislative session. Michael Redinger and Terry Efforts to explain.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for the time this evening to receive a presentation from one of our Special Assistant City Attorneys, Terry Efforts. Terry is here this evening from Bismarck. She's with Integrity Public Affairs. It's hard to believe, but we will be just right around the corner entering our next upcoming legislative session. And so what we are doing tonight is just providing a brief election recap. Terry's going to also talk about the makeup of the legislature for next year. And then on the closeout, I'll just put in a plug for our event next Friday on the 22nd of November. So far, some really good participation from our legislators, up to 15 legislators as of today that have RSVP'd that they'll attend in person for our meeting that we're going to be hosting here at City Hall. So with that, I'll introduce Terry. She'll come up, tell you a little bit about the changes in the legislature, what we can expect with the change in the governor's office as well. So Terry Efforts.
Thank you, Terry Efforts, for the record. This is an honor to follow that clog on the agenda, so I want to thank you for that. I know we've got a new commissioner here, so I wanted to come up and recap what my role is, talk a little bit about the legislature, and also for the department heads as well, because I know that I end up working with everybody during session. So the election is done. Measure 4 was soundly defeated by about 2/3, so it's going to have an interesting effect on the legislature. We will not be looking at coming in and recessing and trying to figure out how to implement it. Instead, we're going to be dealing through several dozen different proposals for property tax reform. I know that there have been a lot of legislators out there. We've got Casper, who's got a bill out there that he's already had some press conferences on. Senator Rummel has an interesting proposal that he talked about just doubling or using a different amount than that $500 that was approved during the last session. Interestingly enough, that relief, that $500 relief that was offered to all North Dakota residents had a 92% participation rate. So it was really, really well, I mean, it even blew their minds that so many people got on and signed up because it wasn't automatic. And so it wouldn't surprise me if we see some sort of expansion of that process as well. We have some new senators coming in. We have some new legislators coming in. Obviously, you've got some in this area. Jared Hendricks, he'll be interesting to keep an eye on. He knows a lot about the political process. Of course, he's replacing somebody who has very different political ideology than he does, so it'll change the makeup a little bit. But I think that he'll probably be very involved in the process, which is good. That's what you want from elected officials as well.
Terry, just
yes.
one question. So the $500 relief, how much did that totally cost the state?
If I remember correctly, it was about $140 million.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and it's right around there. I think that with Kelly coming in as well, Kelly has been out to meet with several different cities. I know he's been in this building before. I'm hoping that you guys got a chance to meet with him that day. I would have loved to have been here. I was out for surgery that first couple weeks of October, so I'm sorry I wasn't here for that, but I know that he's been making an effort to get out, and he knows that 20% of the population of our state lives in this area, and he's very cognizant of that. And so I know that some individuals I've talked to have thought, oh, he's going to be, he's a Western guy. He's going to worry so much about Western. No, he is North Dakota's governor, and I think that he's going to do a great job with that. I haven't heard any indication otherwise. So
he did come here and visit us about the Red River Valley water supply, and then he was talking about the tax relief or the tax bill, basically confined it to those comments. But we'll have another time which commissioners can meet with them.
Excellent. Okay, good. Fargo does a fantastic job reaching out to their elected officials. The legislative meetings that you guys are having, they're not standard across the state. Not every city is doing that. So I applaud you guys for getting the legislators in the room and making that connection between city and state elected officials, because you don't see it everywhere. And it's a good process, and I know the legislators also appreciate it because it keeps them closer in tune with what their constituents' real needs are and things that they aren't often thinking of or just have a different priority on the state level. So I think that they're fantastic. Having two of them leading up to session is going to work well to keep the continuity of information flowing back and forth. My role as a special assistant city attorney is to monitor all the legislation coming in. I read every single bill that's put out there. So it's usually around 1,000, give or take 100 on either side. So I read through every bill. If I think that it's got some impact on the city or one of the departments within the city, I will send that bill off to usually the administrator. If there are other people or department heads that want to be included on that, I'm more than welcome to bombard you with several emails leading up to session. You'll just have to let me know your email address. At that point, then the city will say, yes, this is a concern to us, let's monitor it, and no, it's not a concern, or we're going to support or we're going to oppose these bills. When that happens, in the past, if it's an issue that's very important to the city, we will actually have commissioners or department heads come out and testify on the bill. If it's something that you just want to sign in support or against, I can do that on your behalf. You can also submit written testimony as well. My job is to help make sure that if you want your name on the record and you want to say something about one of these bills, I can help you do that. So if there's any questions, or you say, I really want to testify on this, or I've got questions about a specific bill, let me know. I can either explain the bill to you if it's something simple, or connect you with the bill sponsors if you'd like more insight about why they're bringing a specific bill. And I think that process as well will keep everybody more informed and make the legislative session more impactful. I was able to collect through listening to commission meetings and talking to various elected leaders and department heads some of the priorities for Fargo for this session. Obviously, affordable housing is going to be a big issue. We know that there is a bill that was coming out of Coppelman's committee on that subject. We are hoping that it gets a lot of traction because it's a need not only in this area but across the state. There is traffic issues as well, and I know that your police chief has testified on this in city council, so it's something we're going to be keeping an eye on for you at the state level as well. We've got funding for infrastructure, specifically airport funding. We've got the big water project, and then of course there's the cemetery as well. I mean, there's a lot of different moving parts and different projects out here that would benefit from having strong representation at the state level as well. So those are some of the things that I picked up from meeting with people. But the point of this meeting as well is for me to solicit feedback from the commissioners if there is anything they'd like to add. I know last session, at the end of session, I was told I should be ashamed of myself for the job I was doing. So Commissioner Strand, I invite you to tell me what I should be concentrating on this session so that I don't make that mistake for you again.
Mr. Strand, any comment or clarification?
Well, absolutely. I wish I was there. But one topic I would like us to advance, and I'm meeting with some former retiring legislators on, is the concept of how a city jurisdiction with state cooperation or support allowance would increase the tax incentive for new home construction. And I would like Fargo to have the option to expand it to 5 years if possible, or all cities. And so, Terry, if you could put that on your agenda up front for us to work on, we have something to work on this year, and I won't complain later.
Perfect. I have a note written down here, and I will absolutely make sure to follow up with you on that one too.
And I think, Terry, in fairness, they did have a bill at one time that was going to expand the value. It's 150 to 250, I believe. And to Commissioner Strand's point, I think they did try the 5-year, John, but it didn't get passed, right?
Yeah. I think that is correct. I do read a lot of bills, but I'm pretty sure that's what.
Commissioner Kolbeck,
Yeah, you touched on many of the issues we've been talking about really since the last legislative session, so certainly we'll continue to follow those. One I would like to continue to monitor as well. And changes were made in the last session, but the homestead tax credit for seniors continues to be monitored and needs to be monitored, and we need to continue to be innovative when it comes to those property taxes. So I would add that to the list.
And to that point as well, I think we're going to see kind of a more full matrix of all these ideas that are being thrown out there and drafted right now. And then we'll see what makes it towards crossover, and we'll have a better idea of where property tax reform is actually going. I've heard several people saying expanding homestead tax credit is something they'd like to look at. So I would imagine that piece of code is going to be opened up. The one nuance piece of legislative council working with legislators is that they don't share the work product with other legislators. And so there's a couple of dozen bills that have been drafted. We don't know if 14 of them are the exact same bill or not, because legislative council is just working with the singular legislators. And so sometimes you'll see a duplicative nature when bills are actually introduced.
Who's drafting the bill with the 3% cap?
That's not Casper's bill. I don't remember which one is the 3% cap. I can look it up.
So just for the commissioners, there's one that was trying to cap the valuation to 3% a year, and that has been tried in the past in different states, doesn't work very well. Valuation of your homes continues to grow. We probably would see for our retired people with fixed income, any kind of property tax relief would be welcomed. If a 500 to 1,000 would be welcome, or something that actually gives some property tax relief. So Terry, we'd like to really be informed on that. I think John Strand is very concerned as well, because the fixed income people that have a difficulty as the taxes go up. So.
Yeah, and I think that's why we'll probably see some traction on expanding the program that's already out there, because even if they were to double that from 500 to 1,000, you are going to take care of some of our lowest incomes, citizens that are living in mobile homes and things like that, and they won't have a tax bill. So at this point, it's too early to say which bill will end up with the most traction, but from circulating the different tax ideas, I know that is one, is just expanding that program would do a lot. And in combination with that, taking a look at the homestead tax credit. Casper's bill was to have primary residence tax relief. And I think there were some caps involved in his, but I just read the news article about it. I didn't have a copy of the language in front of me.
And then Commissioner Turnberg has some relationships with some of the legislators, so I think maybe we could figure that out together, so that if there's areas she could support us in, that would be helpful.
Yeah, and you can testify both remotely, or if you want to come out to Bismarck, they always love to have people in the room as well. So if you want to make a trip out, we can get you signed up and get you into the different hearings that we need to. I know that Commissioner Colback and Mayor Mahoney did that last session, and it was very well received.
And just so you understand, what we try to do is run things past Michael and Terry, so we make sure we're speaking theoretically for the city. If you have a different opinion, then you have to speak and say, this is the city's opinion, but it's my opinion. But the commissioners can do that. We've had one commissioner that went out and did speak at times and clearly identified he wasn't speaking for the city, but we try to get an official commission endorsed position so that when we talk to the state, they know what we're supporting.
Yeah.
So.
My plan is at this point, and we did this, I think last session as well, is to have somewhat of a halftime report. If the schedule works up, if crossover aligns with a commission meeting, I'd like to come out and kind of give you the halftime update like we did before, and then come back after session's over as well and talk about the priorities that we laid out today and where we had hits and misses, what we're going to be looking forward to in the future, and how the different programs that the city uses has changed.
And then any commissioner can be on the League of Cities phone call on Friday when we do a Friday call. So any bills we have interest in, you're welcome to be part of those calls. So thank you. Anything else, Michael?
Mayor, if I could join just for a second, please.
Yeah, Commissioner Strand, go ahead.
Thank you. Terry, there's two other topics in general I think our focus should be really honing in on, and one of them is all aspects of daycare. And whatever state support or programming could avail more daycare at the local jurisdictions levels. Another one is behavioral health, public health, behavioral health, and homeless issues. You know, we have as an engine of the state, economic engine of the state, we draw people who have all kinds of needs, including those who need behavioral health and addiction health and are possibly stuck with homelessness. That's a state issue, but we're burdened with it more than most, and maybe all the other cities are. And whatever the state can do on those topics, it's desperately needed.
That's a great point, Commissioner Strand. I think the behavioral health one as well, I think we're going to see some great changes with Kelly coming in. It is a priority within his administration as well. It is something that I also deal with daily. One of my other capacities that I have is I hold the state contract to license all of the social workers and the addiction counselors in the state. And so it's definitely a need. And we see the practitioners out there as well we actually lose some each year. It's not a growing field in North Dakota, and that's an issue. So it's something on the workforce side too that we're going to be keeping an eye on.
And the last thing I'll say is I just certainly hope we don't go down this path where we get hit with cultural issues that pit people against each other and target really marginalized, struggling individuals in life. So if we can keep focusing on the budget and the policies and the priorities of the state, and when we see us going down a path that's really going to be making life difficult for those who struggle already, I just hope we can pull back and aim them back toward the highest priorities that they have to address in Bismarck.
That's also a great point. I'm hoping that because there's going to be such an emphasis on getting our property tax right, that maybe we won't see as many cultural bills come through. I haven't heard of anything at this point, but oftentimes those bills are kept close to the vest until right before the beginning of session. So it's definitely something I'll be putting on the list because I know that is a priority of yours, Commissioner Strand. So no fear, we will make sure you have that information.
The other area Commissioner Stan will be talking to you about is transport. We do need some for support in transport. We'll talk to you a little bit about in our homeless areas, mental health support is important. I think Commissioner Pipcorn and Turnberg both said we should look for outside funding or some funding from the state. So we're going to probably, Terry, push you a little bit more to some of the social issues that we feel the city probably needs help because we are the place that takes care of the whole state, basically. And it appears to us in some ways a burden shouldn't be all in the city of Fargo. The state should help carry some of that. So we'd wanted you to very much monitor any of those bills that are out there. And Commissioner Strand, there is a bill that is going forward on the amount of low-income housing that is being put forward by the committee that was working at that. So that would be helpful. Anything else, Commissioners? Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank Terry for being here, and just one other comment too about new House members. We had 3 new House members that were elected in the election. We sent out a special invitation to the 3 new House members to join us, and 2 of the 3 members have already RSVP'd that yes, they will join us next Friday on the 22nd. So 8 a.m. To 9:30 a.m. That'll be here in the chambers. That will be a public meeting of the commission. We'll notice that and make sure that we get as many people there as possible. We will also have all of our senior staff present, our entire cabinet group. So I just thought it was great to hear already from a couple of our new House members elect as well. So we'll keep the dialogue going, and thanks for the opportunity to do this brief update tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Our only public hearing is item 37, application for ownership change, Class C alcoholic beverage license for Vault Partners, doing business in Fort Knox, located at 52nd Broadway North, continued from the 10/28/24 regular meeting. Steve Sprague to explain.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Good evening. So we did have the meeting on October 28th. There was a request for some additional information. So I was able to reach out to the applicant, receive that additional information. It's included in your packet. However, on Sunday night, Commissioner Pepcorn reached out to me, and he's not able to be here tonight, and neither is the applicant. And so Commissioner Pepcorn asked that we delay this for 2 more weeks, if that's all right with the commission.
And would it be our expectation that the applicant will be here?
I have not verified that he's able to attend the next meeting time.
Okay. Can I have a motion to continue the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Peck,
Aye.
Turnberg. Aye. Strand.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Yes. Now we're going to go to, I'm sorry, John, you won't be able to see this, but Tom Knockquist is going to give us a construction update, or maybe you can see it on your mobile app. So, Tom?
Yeah, good evening. Here to provide the final of the year engineering department construction update for the capital improvement projects as part of our engineering-led projects. Start with safety incidents. There have been no project-related injuries or accidents that have occurred on any City of Fargo projects that we've been made aware of. Always lots of places to find more information, fargostreets.com, but also on Facebook and X. I have a long list I'll show you of projects that have been completed throughout the year, but these are the ones that I want to highlight that have been completed since the last time I presented commission. So first, Woodcrest Drive North, which was a street and utility replacement project, new development project down south, just by the new fire station, which is Selkirk Second Edition, and then some citywide pavement marking and traffic signal maintenance projects. Not going to go through this, but just want to kind of jump through these. There, you can see there's a lot of projects that we have completed. Typically are doing about 50 to 60 projects in the engineering CIP each year. A lot of work being done throughout the city. So this slideshow will really just show some aerial images. We do have someone photograph a lot of our projects annually. They provide a lot of great information for us as a department to track how things went, provide good records for us. So the green arrow, and I'll jump through these pretty quick, green arrows aren't highlighted the project areas, they're just trying to provide a directional arrow of north to you. So the first project here is 32nd Avenue. We did a lane widening between 42nd and 45th, along with some concrete pavement rehab. First Avenue South, you can see the Island Park Pool reconstruction that's happening here, and then the new Bell Bank facility as well. So we reconstructed First Avenue between 4th and 7th Street. Another project, NP Avenue. So this was just one block or half a block really on NP Avenue, and then also included the 8th Street intersection. Our intent would be to continue this project to the east next year, all the way up to Broadway. If you drive here to City Hall, you've probably seen this, but I just want to highlight it because we've gotten a lot of compliments. Don't normally get compliments for a mill and overlay project, but 4th Street Mill and Overlay project is something pretty standard we're doing, trying to extend the life of the pavement, but here with the pavement markings, again, we've gotten a lot of compliments on it. I mentioned this Woodcrest Drive North. This was the paving that was being done for the top lift of asphalt up there just last week. So it did go pretty late in the year, but all work has been completed. There might be some punch list items on that project, but otherwise everything substantially is complete. Again, another water main replacement street reconstruction project on 7th Street North. Another one on 1st Street North. Here you can just see the darker pavement there. So that was a asphalt roadway reconstruction that took place this year just south of West Acres Mall in a multifamily area. We installed a shared use path along 25th Street south of 64th Avenue. So just kind of what's in the box on the west side of the roadway was added. And it was something that wasn't originally included when we paved 25th Street, but there's been a lot of growth, as you can see, new housing west of 25th Street, and so there was a lot of demand for this shared use path. Another shared use path, and Jeremy will talk about another project here shortly, but you can see in that little green circle was a part of the phase along River Drive, and so kind of near the Red River, kind of near 40th Avenue South. Little part of a two-phase project that went in this year. New development that was completed, you can see the one area that doesn't have residential development on it yet. This was done as part of a phased approach in this area and completed later this year, and you can see housing starts are starting there in Meadowview Addition. We talked about this project quite a bit throughout the year, but this is looking south on 45th Street between 32nd Avenue North and 19th Avenue North. So Laverne's first and second edition are on the left side of the photo. We expanded 52nd Avenue. This was a partnership with West Fargo and the county to expand 52nd Avenue west of 63rd Street to the roundabout at County Road 17. Alex's addition, just this little kind of weavy road or windy road there in the center of the screen was installed this year, supporting the development that you can see happening there, and then future development that is likely to happen there as well. Up north, just west of Mid-America Steel, this was a Veterans Industrial Park, so this is ready for that commercial industrial type land use that's proposed. Mentioned this earlier, Selkirk second edition residential development near the new fire station. And then just highlight a few projects that are still ongoing. Everything that's still ongoing has a 2025 completion. So everything that had to get done in 2024 is done, which is always good this time of year. But we do still have some work going on, and contractors will continue working in these project areas as long as they can. So Dakota Commerce Center North Addition underground is complete. They have been working on some roadway prep type items. That same contractor also has Interstate Business District, where they're currently working on underground utilities. And like I said, they'll work on that as late as they can this year. Here's just an image of them installing sanitary sewer in that interstate business district. And then we do also have some flood risk management projects, again, not necessary to be completed until 2025. So storm lift stations 1157, and then some drainage and storm sewer repairs. Here's another project, 32nd Avenue South Storm Lift Station, number 27. Again, has a 2025 completion. Contractors working on installing underground utilities. They've completed the outlet structure. Then there will be some new tree plantings. It's hard to put some of this into perspective, but that's a 84-inch pipe, so 7 foot tall. So pretty large pipe. And just showing, this is showing the pipe on the left. That was the old outfall. We have a secondary outfall here, and then the riprap to protect from erosion. So with that, happy to take any questions.
Any question of the commissioners? John, you have any questions?
I do not, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Nice job. Glad they're on time. It's been a great fall, right? Recommendations for federal aid transportation alternatives project applications for the years 2028 and 2029. Jeremy Gordon, always into the future.
That's right. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Great to be in front of you today. I'll take care of the next two agenda items. You know, sitting back there listening to Tom talk about all the projects we did this year brings me back to the time when Mark Bittner said, when we were doing the 25th Street underpass right by Main Avenue, the only thing I had to work on all winter was getting right away for that underpass. And he just went through dozens of projects there. So it's you'd really think about all the work we do on a yearly basis. So with that, this item in front of you is relatively straightforward. We're looking for your blessing on 4 projects to move forward using federal aid for shared use path. So just to celebrate some of the things we've been doing, some of you may know through MetroCog, we turned into a TMA, Transportation Management Agency. And with that change, we were allocated basically 3 times the amount of money we get for paths on an annual basis. So we have done a lot of paths historically, but we're getting more money to complete more of them now and into the future. So I think at one point this year we had 5 either under construction or under design within our office. So it's exciting. So this project here is a completed project we just finished this year. It's behind the water rec facility on the north side of town, 32nd Avenue up to 37th Avenue. Tom mentioned this briefly. We built the area in red here. With all of our flood buyouts over the last 15 years, it's really opened up some areas for us to put these paths in. So we wanted to do this all at once, but we didn't have the funding. So we knocked off the red earlier this year, and we'll be doing the blue cyan line next year. So we have 3 lined up in the queue for the next 2 years. Like I said, the cyan color line there on River Drive. We're doing a pretty cool connection between 2 kind of separate paths between Timberline and Oak Creek. Again, we bought out the folks on the west side of Oak Creek Drive there. So we're going to tie in the Milwaukee Trail that goes under 25th Street. You can actually go along the drain there for a bit and get into the drain 53 path. So you'll be able to go a long ways as soon as you get on that Milwaukee Trail, you know, basically at I-94. You can go all the way to the south end of town. And then this is the last one we have that we're working on for construction in the next year or two. This is the Red River North behind the VA, from the El Zaga Bowl up to the Woodcrest lift station. So you may be hearing from residents on a shared use path that we currently have under environmental clearance and design. This may be one that you're getting comments on from residents. We had a public meeting a couple weeks back on it. So the future project we're looking at for the 4 projects tonight, it's really extending Drain 27 and extending Drain 53. So the main priority for us is really the one in red that would go really in the banks of the Drain 27 all the way almost to 64th Avenue South. We tie into the Deer Creek addition. And then the third priority is really going from this path over to 63rd Street where there's an elementary school, and it would go across our ground storage reservoir lot there in the dash red line. So the second and fourth priorities, this is in Drain 53, basically near Davies and a hair north. So the short one would be just a box culvert drain crossing to go from one path to the other side, up by 58th Avenue. And then the one, the longer one on the south end is just extending it from 64th down to 73rd Avenue. And that's really all this item is for you. I can answer any questions.
Any questions, Commissioner Strand?
No questions, Mayor. Thank you.
Commissioners?
Yeah, I have a question for
Wolfpack?
follow-up, Jeremy. Thank you for the presentation, and I know that these have been part of a longer-term strategy for walkability, and it's connected to the work done in MetroCog with 4 of the 5 commissioners who sit on that board. Can you speak to the feedback or the questions you've gotten from residents on a couple of these paths and the responses?
The one that I'm aware of would be the VA.
Right.
And I think it's really on the north end of the VA property where it bends around the river and then goes to Woodcrest. We are looking to move the path closer to the river and down the riverbank. So if you're on the path, you could barely see the homes. So you'd be a little bit more hidden, for lack of a better term. But we still want to be above the 25-foot flood stage because that's technically the park district calls that a nuisance flood. Like, the river does bounce up to that number, and then they have to head out and clear out debris if it gets that high. So 25 feet is really the magical number. So we just had a meeting last Friday on that. And we're in pretty good contact with a couple homeowners up there.
Thank you.
And just the one thing I wanted to add to this. So again, as part of our public input process, we had a public meeting, had really good attendance, had many people in support of the project, but also those that have their concerns with this project. So what we've committed to doing on this one specifically is we need to get through the public comment period. We'll assemble all those comments that we receive. We'll bring this through PUPEC for consideration, and then it'll come to City Commission with a recommendation from PUPEC. One of the things that we've committed to doing with the residents that do have concerns about this project is give them an opportunity to come here and speak to City Commission when City Commission makes their decision. So what Jeremy's highlighting here is that we do have funds that have already been approved for this project, and that's why we're in design. But again, what we've communicated with the public is that the project isn't guaranteed yet, right? City Commission, we're still going to ask City Commission for their blessing to move forward.
Right. Thank you.
But Tom, I think the important thing that Jeremy just said is neighbors came to you and you considered moving it further towards the river. So we do take public input pretty seriously and we try to accommodate that. I have a bike path, walking path behind my house area. There's a dike in the way, but I know people always get a little concerned of, what the people that are actually fronting that path, what the walkers are going to do or what's going to happen. And we really had people walk the path. That's where they stay. They seem to go up and down that fairly easily. So, but I'm pleased to hear that we listen. Thank you. Any other questions? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mayor, I have one question,
Okay, go ahead,
if I could.
Yep.
And I'm not sure this is how germane this or not, but it ties into what you just said. Lately, when I've taken up walking, there's some parts of South Fargo. I go out and I walk on the dike. And then I wonder, how do we know if it's public or private property, or if you have access to it, or you can be there? Are these paths and ways, are they clearly marked, so people know if they can be there or not?
Jeremy, you want to take that?
Well, that is a good question. I do know at the Oak Grove area, there's the one homeowner left there, and he's got signs that say private property. Yeah, we don't really delineate it. On state highways, they have right-of-way markers. We really don't do that, even for our streets or our paths. So that's a good point you bring up, John.
I do think you ought to consider, Jeremy, because as I understand it, in flood protection, we're not supposed to walk the dike. And I see people oftentimes walking the dike, but there's no signage to say don't walk the dike. But Terry, I've heard in the past engineers say, nope, you're not supposed to do that. But to John's point, there's no directions not to do that.
Yeah, we do have some signs that we have made up that please stay off flood control project. Typically, you're right. Typically, people don't usually go on them very often.
We may have to discuss that sometime, John. I think that's a good point, because some neighbors do get a little frustrated when somebody's up in the dike looking in their backyard. I think that that's a valid criticism. So, but we don't have signage, so
Thank you.
we may have to consider that. Roll call vote.
Kolpak?
Aye.
Berg? Aye. Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 40, a recommendation for shared use path as part of the 17th Avenue South street construction. Jeremy Gordon again to explain.
We got to pull up another PowerPoint here. There we go. All right, so this is really discussing the 17th Avenue South street reconstruction project for a mile from University to 25th Street. I'll just get right into it. This is a federal aid project we've got lined up to be bid out in 2026 and constructed in 2027. So we got a couple of years till we get to this. But just as an overview, why I'm in front of you tonight. This is a federal aid project. The use of our federal funds, we have to complete a NEPA document. We took public input on the project, what influences our design, and really all of our designs, and project specific description of the alternatives in front of you, and then make a decision for the decision document that we end up sending to Federal Highway. So like I said, this has got federal aid, $5.4 million. The total project's right around $10 million. Requires compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act. So we must evaluate the environmental and related social and economic impacts, and then we must provide opportunities for public review and comment. So the document that we do the NEPA document is called the categorical exclusion. It's a little bit less than a environmental assessment, but it still catches everything that's important associated with the project. It does require a decision document, and these are kind of nice because looking back at things when decisions are made, it's actually a memo written out and check the box on what was decided as the city. So we must evaluate a do nothing alternative, and then we must evaluate all the options or alternatives that we have. So like I said, we had a public input period for this. We had a 30-day period. It was from September to October, 15th to the 15th. And then we had a public input meeting at South High on September 18th. We had 8 folks in attendance that came from the public. 2 gave us comments, and then we had an additional 1 via email. So a lot less feedback than I was anticipating, but sometimes that happens. So just in general, what influences our design? We've got a great planning department. MetroCog does a great job on transportation plans. So we've got a lot of things to look at. What was recommended before us here to move forward. So we had a 17th Avenue corridor study completed, basically from West Fargo to the Red River. We have our Go 2030 comp plan. We've got both our long range transportation plan and our basically long range ped and bike plan. We take public input, look at crash data, look at traffic operations, look at an evaluation of our non-motorized users, take a look at our transit routes, and then really discussion with engineering, planning, public works, forestry, what works, what doesn't on various types of roads, and then what are the lessons that we've learned. So this project's pretty straightforward. It's a water main replacement. It's going to be a 30-foot wide road. It's relatively basic in nature. The east half is really old. It was first built in the 60s. The concrete pavement's in really poor condition. The water main's not good. So the purpose of it is to replace the aging infrastructure, replace street lighting on the west half, minor revisions to the signals at 25th Street and University. We want to improve the pedestrian crossing, put a flashing beacon out in front of Fargo South and the Park District facility there. Spot replacement of the sidewalk on the south side, and then replace the sidewalk on the north side to a shared use path. So for these the federal fund NEPA documents, you always need a purpose and a need. So the need is that existing pavement and underground utilities are at their end of their useful life. And then you really look at this area, it's residential in nature. And it gets a lot of heavy utilization by folks that don't have a dedicated bike facility. So just getting right into it here, here's a cross section really looking east. It's pretty straightforward street, 30 foot wide street, sidewalk on the south side, and we're recommending a 10-foot path on the north side. And there's really three alternatives to look at. The one is to do nothing, which is pretty simple. And the other one is what should we do with the sidewalk on the north side? And the third one is what should we do with the sidewalk on the south side? So alternative A, the no-build alternative, it's the lowest cost, obviously, $0, but it doesn't address the purpose or the need for the project. And then you get into the sidewalk. What should we do with the sidewalk on the north side? There's three options. Leave it as is at 4.5 feet. It wouldn't remove any of the trees, boulevard trees, but it wouldn't address the need for a bike facility. And the next two options are either widen it to 8 feet or widen it to 10 feet. And really, the biggest impact putting it on the north side is the removal of some boulevard trees. So if it was 8 feet wide, you remove 23 trees. It would address the need for a bike facility, but Federal Highway says building a path only 8 feet wide should be very limited. And it should be extenuating circumstances where you don't have the space. So that it would involve 23 trees, 3 of which are over 12 inches. And then going to 10 feet, you would lose 41 trees, but you would meet the need for the bike facility. And 6 of the trees that are involved are ash. 5 of those are 12 inches in diameter. So these ash trees will be removed in the future at some point with the emerald ash borer. And just to be clear, Public Works Committee is recommending the alternative that widens it to 10 feet. So just some photos going from the east to the west. I think these graphics paint a pretty good picture. Basically, there's 2 blocks that are impacted near 25th Street that have the bigger mature trees. The rest of the trees are smaller diameter fruit trees. So just really going from University going west. And this picture here is near 25th Street. So those trees in that graphic, they would all be removed, and we would replant at the time of construction. So like I said, the biggest impacts of the last 2 blocks over to 25th Street. The green triangle are trees that have already been replaced. The good thing is there are quite a few mature trees on private property, so it's not like we would be clear cutting the whole area. So that was talking about the north side. Now the last alternative is just talking about the south side. So the first one would leave it as is. I should go back. The first option is to leave it as is, and that's what Public Works is recommending. We could widen it to 8 feet, or we could widen it to 10 feet, but there's a lot more trees and a lot more utility impacts and power poles on this boulevard, and I'll show you in a second.
Yeah, but for John, that was 54 trees.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't know, John, if you can see the video, but it's 54 trees on that first alternative.
Yeah, 8 feet is 54 trees, and going to 10 feet is 77 trees. It just besides the trees, there's utility boxes like I'll show here. It gets to be pretty expensive to relocate those things. And this is just a snapshot going east to the west. You can see the big mature trees that would be removed. Just really a snapshot of the corridor. So really, what we're looking for is a decision on the alternative. We could do it tonight if you're ready. We could wait a couple weeks if you're not. And when that occurs, then we hand this off to our designers, and they go to town putting the final plans together. Those will be wrapped up within a couple months. It'll be on the shelf, as you hear sometimes. These are shelf-ready plans, just waiting for the funding. We'll bid it out in 26 and construct it in 27.
So just to be clear, Jeremy, you're recommending the bike path on the north side be 10 feet, and on the south side, leave it at 4.5.
Yep.
That's what PUPIC recommended, is that
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
And the south side then would have no tree removal, but the north side would have 41 trees, 6 which are ash, so it's really about 35 trees.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions of the commissioners? Are we ready to decide tonight? Think so? Okay. Can I have a motion?
Mayor, I would make the recommended motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Can I?
Just one
waiting.
comment, Mayor.
Sorry,
Go ahead, John.
Yes.
You know, I'm not a biker guy, but for years, that's the one corridor people who are bikers say, put your focus on 17th Avenue corridor for transiting across the city and so on. And it's really good that we're going to deliver on that need and desire from people.
Commissioner Kolpak.
Yeah, and I appreciate kind of the mitigation consideration of north versus south, the number of trees, the analysis of the ash that will be removed eventually. Can you speak to the safety concern of 8 versus 10 feet for a bike path difference?
Yeah, so like I said, Federal Highway we used to build quite a few 8-foot paths, but if you think about a vehicle or a bicycle, they say a person riding a bicycle needs at least 4 feet at a minimum. No matter how big or small a person is, they have the handlebars and they got whatever. So then 8 feet gives you enough to get by each other. But that extra 2 feet does make a big difference on a busier corridor. And the one thing about paths is there's a lot of people walking and there's a lot of people walking dogs. The more space, the better. But they 8 used to be acceptable. 10 is what Federal Highway wants to see, unless you're in a really confined area.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then if somebody has an electric bike, you can't hear them coming up, so it's really kind of amazing. So they're good to have space so people don't get hit. Good. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Strand.
Yes.
Turnberg. Aye. Kolpak.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Item 41, you have my recommendations for appointments to the Growth Initiative Fund Board of Directors and to the Planning Commission. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Turnberg. Aye. Strand.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Liaison Commissioner assignment updates. John, I'll let you go first if you want to report anything.
The only thing to report, you know me, and birthdays, Commissioner Pepcorn's birthday is coming around on the 16th, so when everybody sees him the next time, wish him the best. Otherwise, no report.
Thank you. Commissioner Kolpak.
Yep. I have a slide. So the Fargo Youth Initiative, the mayor, a number of Fargo staff, and I attended this event along with Commissioner Turnberg. We were part of a panel at the end of the day. And it was October 29th. Nearly 100 high school students came to City Hall. It was a day-long event that included lunch over at the Civic Center. We covered a number of major topics like homelessness and mental health that affect youth in our city. We brainstormed solutions. We have subsequently some follow-up meetings we're going to be having with the Youth Initiative as well around those topics. And I thought the panel had some very provocative questions at times, but certainly I think the city can feel good about the youth and the generation coming soon to be leaders in our community and across the state. And it was just a really good event that had a lot of energy. I don't know, Mayor, if you want to add anything, or Commissioner Turnberg, you were both there.
I think we were both pleased that there were a lot of the staff that showed up, and they were all interested more in the staff than they were in us. So It was kind of fun to see them asking the staff what they did and what they do for us. Commissioner Turnberg?
Yes, it was a really great event, done well, and those youth are very impressive. So I was very happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, so big shout out to Catlin from the Planning Commission for all the work that went into it, and it took months to plan that. And if I may, I just have one verbal update as well. We had the recent election. I know we had a number of tax initiatives on the ballot, and one that passed overwhelmingly was the sales tax for 1/4 cent for public safety. I just want to say, I know a lot of work. My portfolio includes the fire department. There was a lot of work that went into that effort, a lot of boots on the ground for that final outcome of 70% approval. I want to thank the community for their support of public safety. And the last thing I just want to share is that now we're going to be working with administration and the division chiefs and figuring out what's the process logistically once those funds start coming in June of next year. And how will we communicate and be transparent with the public with those funds? So thank you.
I just want to reiterate that everybody's asking how you're going to spend it, how you're going to spend it, how you can spend it. Hey, it just passed. We don't get the funds for a while, and it will be a thoughtful discussion about where the funds go. We've already actually talked to the two chiefs earlier just to talk about if it did pass, what are some of your thoughts. But the public will fully be aware of how that money is spent, and that is truly going to be spent on the safety of the community. So I think you just need to have a little patience on that, but we won't have a plan for several months because it's going to take a while to sort through all the concerns. But do want to thank the public for once again supporting the city of Fargo. Commissioner Turnberg.
We're undergoing some renovations at the Northport Library, so be aware that that's going on right now. And other than that, no other update.
Is it closed or is it still open?
I have to double check where they are on
Okay.
that, but they're usually very good about putting out press releases and notifying the public.
Very good. And you guys are having a record year in the library
Yes.
again, right? Yeah, okay. For residents' comments, we have 4 speakers. In person, Matt Osborne, is he here? Matt, you'd come to this podium over here? Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't want you to walk the whole way and then I had to tell you to go the other place. The rules of engagement are on the board, and you have 2.5 minutes. It will start once you begin to speak.
Okay, can you hear me? Well, thank you. Thank you for hearing me. My name is Matt Osborne. I'm a condo owner downtown. I've been downtown for 5 years, living downtown. I live and work downtown. So, but what I wanted to update you on is just the reality of what we're seeing as downtown residents. And I did attend this morning's meeting at the Chamber event of homelessness, and I'm encouraged by that. But my plea is being someone who both lives and works downtown, is you got to implement the plans soon, okay, on homelessness, because it is going to get worse and worse and worse before it gets better. And that's just from our viewpoint, from what we're seeing. And right now, you know, I counted the number of tents that are on that path that's on 2nd Street, right on the encampments. There's 26 of them. Some of them are too close. Some of them are too close together. Some of them are too close to the river. Some are too close to the path. You'll have to go and see what I mean. And then as a resident, we're seeing more and more people who are engaging people that are just walking their dog or just going for a run. And it's getting almost out of control at certain parts of the day. And this is stuff that we see all the time. And I just wanted to make sure you knew about this. Some people feel frightened for going over on the other side of the river, for example, or on the other side of the wall, for fear that, you know, there's these encampments that have just been, and from our viewpoint, they've been increasing. So we're thinking that there's, you know, really nothing going on when I know there's something going on. So number one is safety. That's what we're concerned about, is the safety, and then also the cleanliness of this whole area too. There's garbage, you know, building up all over the place, and it's just something that we think that there needs to be something done now. And yeah. So that's really what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Asher Lorenzen.
Hi, I'm Asher Lorenzen. I wasn't able to attend last meeting, but I had watched a recording, and I heard some statements made about the Downtown Engagement Center and our homeless that I found pretty appalling, specifically coming from Commissioner Pepcorn, who is not present today. I've fallen in love with this city. I love our downtown. I used to go to Paradox all the time at their old location near Renaissance Hall. I've never felt fear walking or biking alone in our downtown. I've never felt fear walking alone along the river near the homeless encampments, a place that some of our commissioners dare not to enter. Pipecorn isn't here, so I can't ask him to stand up, but he's 6'7" tall. About that tall. And he's a former offensive guard, and he claims that he fears for his life in this city, afraid to walk alone in this city during the day. If he was present here today, I would offer that after this meeting, we walk through the city together. And if he ever gets scared, he can hold my hand so that he knows that he can always be safe with me. Lastly, I just want to give a little update. A little over a month ago, I went along the river, north to south, full length. Back then, there wasn't a single porta potty for our homeless neighbors. I'm disappointed to say that there still aren't any porta potties there. The city has instead put your tax dollars to work to destroy encampments. Your taxes to make your neighbor's life worse, not better. I still ask that we put at least a single porta potty to service the couple dozen people living next to the river. One available bathroom for a couple dozen people is not too much to ask. You know, we talk about safety, but we need to focus on our safety for our homeless individuals. They are facing real fear, and especially as winters come. You know how difficult winters are here in North Dakota and from the Midwest. Tents don't keep you warm. You know, we just did a coat drive recently, and we got tons of people who are willing to support and help, but we got to do something more, and we got to focus on their safety. You know, it's been neglected so far, and we need to do better. Thank you.
Zara Crystal.
Hello, my name is Zara Crystal. I am a transgender resident of Fargo, North Dakota. As we all know, Election Day just happened, and Republicans are now going to be taking control of the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the White House. This gives them most sway over all three branches of government, not to mention North Dakota is more red than ever. Last legislative session, 10 anti-transgender bills were introduced in a single day. If I'm not mistaken, 8 of those bills went to the governor to be passed or vetoed. Based on the history of both the federal and state governments, it can be concluded that more laws targeting my people will be on the way soon. My community is suffering, and I am not the only trans person in this city. There are hundreds of us living here. Many of us do not have the ability to flee to Minnesota. We are not a wealthy community. If more transgender laws pass, there will be those of us that will die. There are those of us who are already dead. Not only that, but with the rise in anti-trans legislation, there will be and has been a rise in anti-trans public sentiment. Me and my transgender brothers, sisters, and siblings deserve to walk down the street without fear of being beaten. After all this, here is my question. What is the city of Fargo planning to do to protect its transgender residents from those who aim to strip us of our rights? Thank you.
Olivia Fisher is by phone. She's not online. Well, then, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All those in favor to adjourn, say yes.
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 We adjourn.
Aye.
Thanks, John.